Hi guys, welcome to Digital Tech Join. In this video, we are going to get started with Razer Pages for developing web application. We will go through the project structure, file extension, accessing Razer Pages in URL, and basic code to get started with Razer Page web development. In the subsequent release, we will create Razer Page web application using Entity Framework for CRUD operations. So let's get started. We are using Visual Studio 2022 and .NET 6.0 runtime. So open Visual Studio 2022, click on create new project, select ASP.NET Core Web App, click on next, type the project name, intro to Razer Pages, click on next, select .NET Framework 6.0, and for now we just click on configure, untick the configure for HTTPS. Okay, so I think so we have the same name also, Razer Pages. Fine. Because this is a default project structure, you can see we have a folder called Pages. We don't see the controller and the model folder, view folder model, which we used to traditionally see in the previous versions. Now let's go to program.cs, and you can see there is an addition of builders or service.add Razer Pages, which adds a support to the Razer Pages in your application container. Also, we see app.map Razer Pages, which manages all the routing of the Razer Pages in your application. Now, if you expand the Pages folder, which is a default folder, and you can see there are a couple of default files already created. The first one is index.cs HTML file, which has an HTML tags, and then if you expand that further, you have the same file with an extension cs html.cs, which is a code behind file for index.cs HTML. So now, before we get into the coding part, what is the Razer page and what is the difference of a Razer page and MVC? So a Razer page is very similar to the view component that ASP.NET MVC developers are used to. It has all the same syntax and functionality. The key difference is that the model and the controller code is also included in the Razer page itself. So basically this acts as an MVVM pattern, which is model, view and view model. So having a Razer page, what is the advantage is that we don't have requests going through the controller. Everything is managed within the Razer page. Fine. So for a beginner, this was the high level understanding. Let's go ahead and just add some few codes. So if you run this, so this is the default index page which is loaded when you run the application. So when you run the application, you notice, let us go through this HTML tags in the index.cs HTML. You can see the first directive, that is @page. Now this directive is very important and it has to be placed in the first line of the code. So basically this directive creates this CS HTML into an action packed file where everything is managed within this file and within this code base file. So let us do some addition over here. So let's run the application first. Yes, so the page is loaded. So this is what we saw. Welcome and sentence which says learn about building web apps with ASP.NET Core. So this is what the page was called. By default, this index page was called, and we also have privacy page, and then this is basically our index page only. Now this layout which you can see, the top menu and the bottom footer with this content, this is managed by the shared layout which is within the pages folder. So within the pages there is a folder called shared, and you can see underscore layout.cshtml, which actually contains all the CSS and JavaScript used to set up and provide the layout. Now if you can see, there are when we loaded this page, we can see the two menus. We can here, if you want to add one more menu, we will have to just copy this, paste it, and then you can see we can add one more page as demo. So this will appear over here after the previously. Though this is something which we can will explore it more further. So the idea was to tell you that this is a layout page which is over here, and for this layout all the CSS and JavaScript files are within this www root folder. Now let us go and add one more Razer page. So when we click on new Razer pages, we get these three options. We are going to focus on Razer pages empty. These two will be taught in the next series videos. So click on empty page, name it test Razer or Razer test page. So we will show you how the navigation happens. So now in order to navigate to the Razer test page, what you need to do is that, so by default index page is loaded. Now in order to navigate to Razer test page, just have to type in, and we see the Razer page is loaded. We will show you how do you navigate within the subfolder. So we will create one folder under pages called as store, and add a page, Razer page, use stores. You will add a tag over here, h1 stores. Is a test page. So I'll show you the navigation. So by default it looks into the Razer pages in the root folder, that is a pages folder. Now when I type Razer page test, I think so it's Razer test page, sorry. It's Razer test page. And now if I want to navigate to this file, Razer file, which is within the pages and within the store folder, then I have to type store / view stores. So this is how the navigation works in Razer. And let's now proceed with adding some HTML codes. So we will modify this index. We will remove all this. So we will start with some basic. So let's print the server date time and time. Server date time. And then we add the @ sign. Date time now. So what this will do, this will print the server date time on your index page. Printing server date time, and you can see the date time is also printed. Now let's go ahead and see how we can write a loop statement. So I will print around 10 numbers. So in order to start with the programming block code in the Cshtml, you type @ and open curly brackets. I am going to print loop through some numbers. So I say @ for I 1 and I, let's say 10, I then incremental, and then I say @ since I want to print it, I say I 2 toString, and so this becomes my block for. Let's just run this page now. And you can see the numbers are getting printed. Similarly, let's do some arithmetic operation also. I'll show you an example at the rate. So just add a tag and then say in number 1 and number 2. We'll assign the values here itself. And result equals to num1 plus num2, and then we print the result. This result dot toString. So you can see it is printed the result. Now I will show you how do you refer. Now we are working with index of CSML, so CSHTML. So we will I'll show you how to access a variable defined in index of CSHTML in your CSHTML page. That is the HTML code page. So I say accessing your value variable of property values in CSHTML page. So for that we will go ahead and first define our public property. So I define a variable property as public my message get set. Plus this is from code file. I've assigned the values also for this public property. Now if we see on get, so on get is like similar to on load. So on get, I'm going to say my messages equals to my message plus at the rate showing date time. Otherwise I'll just not complicated it. I'll just simply show this value. I was trying to append the date time also. Let's do that. It becomes easy for the understanding. So this is a value which I'm setting in my code file, and then also appending the date time with this code file. So you will see this is my code file showing date time and the server date time, and this will be printed on the page load. So what I'm going to do in the page, I will simply call the variable. In order to call the variable, I say at the rate model dot my messages. So you can see it's accessing my variable message declared directly in the CSHTML file. I'll just run this code now. You can see the value is printed. This is from code file and showing date time which I added over here. So very basic stuffs we showed. Now we will go ahead and create a simple registration form. We will add 3 fields, we'll submit it, and we'll retrieve those values submitted in the CSHTML file in our code file. So let's go ahead and create one registration form, a simple and a basic one. Right click on pages, say add Razer Pages, and just name it registration. Now I'm going to write some basic code over here. So it will be a form. So you say form method post. So this will be name. So this will be an HTML control, HTML dot text for. Before we create this, so basically we are supposed to define the variables. So we click on the code file of registration and define the public properties. Then email, so full name and email. This is a registration file which we will be accepting. Now first we go define the HTML pages. So we say text for, and we use the lambda function syntax. Full name. We have already defined this full name variable in our code file, and then this is one way of referring or getting a text box. And then we had similar for your email. We can also use a tag helper class to refer your property and the text box. So it can go like that: input asp.for asp-for, and this becomes your email. So I have shown you two methods. One, either you can refer like that using the lambda expression or using the tag helper. Both will have the same result of displaying a text box which is bind with your variable defined in the code file, that is full name and email. And then finally we enter the button, submit button, input type submit. So when you enter the values and submit, it will get posted in your code file. And now here we are supposed to retrieve those files. So this on get, not on get, it will be on post. So public void on post, and then we say declare variable name, full name, then email, email. Now this will retrieve, so this value is defined over here. Got it. So let us see things in action. So very simply, I can just do one thing. I can print this name and email in the console for your understanding. So let's execute this code. Fine. So this is an index page. I will call the registration. So you can see we have a text box, name and an email. So I just type in the name and email and click on submit. So on submission, the on post method is called, and you can see it is null. So let's see where is the mistake. This is text. Oh, it's not text area. It should be text box. Correct? It should be text box. This was a mistake. And now let's run it again. Fine. So we have name, we have the code, and we submit. On post, still none. This is interesting. Public string. Okay, so we have missed a very important tag, that is bind property. We missed this, and that is why. Okay, anyways, let's run it. Hopefully this should work now. Digital, and click on submit, and now I think we should be able to see the values. Here, this is a digital, and then this is the email, and now you can see it will get printed in the console also. You see the name and it. So once you have the values, then you can save it in the database, or pass on to some other method or function. But the idea was to show you a simple registration form that inputs values from user, and then you extract the same in your code base file. Now let's go ahead and have the similar page done, but this time with the entity class. So what we are going to do is that we are creating a class. We will define some variables, properties in class, and then we are going to create a tabular format data that will display the data which we will add it in our class files. So let's go ahead. So what we are going to do is that we are going to create a folder, and we will add one class, and we'll name it as products. And we will define some public properties. So product name, okay, and then copy it, category, and this becomes our cost, that is MRP. So we have defined a class as products. Now what we'll do is go to the pages and right click and say view products, empty Razer page, and then we click on view products. So we go to this view products class file and on get. Now we are going to use on get because the moment page is loaded, we want that it it calls this class, and we are going to pre-populate some values, and that will be displayed in our Cshtml Razer page. So first we'll refer this model class in our CSS page. So we are going to say using intro.model. So we referred our model root folder. Now we are going to define the property. So we are saying bind property and public list products and get set. Now on the onGet method, we are going to initiate that product class, and we are going to add some products. So we have hard coding some products over here. We will add some products, and that will be displayed in our Razer HTML page. In our further videos, we are going to, as I mentioned, we are going to create this more dynamically. We are going to use database, and we are going to create a full-fledged crude web application using Razer, which will perform the read operation, create operation, read operation, update and delete. So let's go and add some products. iPod category accessories, and then MRP. Let's copy this, add one more product. So we have added two products and onGet will be called. So in onGet we are actually initiating this. Ideally this should have been come from database, but for now we are adding some product, and then we are returning this products to the Razer page. So we are going to simply type in products dot to list. So this is done with the code file. Now we go to the view product HTML file, and here we are going to add the HTML tags. We are going to create a tabular format and display the data. So we simply say table class, and defining a class of table, th HTML dot display. Sorry. So we are adding a row, and then we are adding our display row headers. This becomes a product name. Now we add the same for categories and the rate. So this becomes our category, and this becomes our rate. Now we need to no, we don't require this. We have only 3 columns. So now what are we going to do over here? So that becomes a header, that is a first row, and here we are going to loop it. So we are going to use iterate for each where item in model dot products, and then we are going to say tr correct, it's a tr and td html dot display for and model item dot product name. And then we copy this, see, for categories and the rate. So this becomes a categories. It's not categories, it's category, and then our MRP. So what should this should actually display these two products in a tabular format. So let's go ahead and see view products Razer page in the browser. So let's go ahead and click on view products, and you can see nicely tabular format data is displayed. In this we have used our class and displayed these values. I've shown you how to loop in through our loop syntax, and I've also shown you how to loop in through your class objects and fetch it. So in a subsequent release we will go ahead and create a complete web application using Razer for CRUD operation. This was a very basic walkthrough of Razer page using .NET Framework 6.0. I hope this was informative. Please do like this video and please do subscribe my channel. Thank you all.